Good evening. No matter how you look at American history, you can see throughout our culture today and throughout any history books that America is a land rich with religious diversity, both now and throughout our history. If you are to look at history objectively and without bias, as Liberty University adheres to and teaches us as historians to do, you can see that there are a large number of denominations that have had a positive impact on our history. I mean, whether you even look at Catholicism, Mormonism, you look at the Anglican Church or Presbyterians, Moravians. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There are literally hundreds of denominations because of all the splits and so on and so forth that we have been taught in these last few weeks of our classes to see that different religions had different positive impacts. And what I would like to focus on today is the denomination of the Methodists. Now, Methodism was largely inconsequential in America until after the Revolutionary War. Methodism had its beginnings before the Revolutionary War, but due to ties with England and John Wesley, that with the bitterness that Americans had towards the English, the Revolutionary War kind of didn't allow anything to happen until afterwards, when relations with England and America had calmed back down. And then the Methodist religion really began to take off in the 1780s with the arrival of Francis Asbury. Now, he came to America eagerly as a volunteer for John Wesley to grow the religion and denomination of Methodism in the United States. He longed for, as did John Wesley, to unite the eastern cities and the organization of the church with the frontier, who didn't really have an actual church to go to because they were too far and spread out. So one of the most important aspects leading up to the Second Great Awakening was the rise of the circuit riding preacher. Now, as part of that, because in the frontier, with the rise of the Second Great Awakening, people at the frontier, they couldn't necessarily get to a speaker or get to a church and be affected by the revival that was happening in so many of the eastern cities. But with the rise of the circuit riding preacher, because as pretty much was their motto by Francis Asbury, as Mark Knoll in our class textbook puts it, to put the gospel of Christ in every kitchen, in every cabin along the frontier. Many people were able to hear the gospel of Christ for the first time or have their hearts revived by the gospel message of the Methodists, which very much focused on having a personal relationship with the Lord and seeing that inward conversion also manifested on the outside in the actions that those people showed. So with the rise of the circuit riding preacher, Francis Asbury, for example, traveled over 300,000 miles in his lifetime up and down the United States and even into Canada, and also men such as Peter Cartwright, who had a 70-year ministry as a circuit riding preacher, and many others. They were responsible for huge areas of land, but they were very effective in the fact that they would have meetings in little towns, they would preach anywhere they could, and they took the gospel to every home that they could find, which largely impacted the Second Great Awakening in a way that without the Methodists, I don't think would have had such a profound impact on the nation. I think, in fact, their effect was so great that they're the main reason that Methodism was the main reason that America was known as a Christian nation throughout the 1800s and even into the 20th century.